Hey people, how you doing? Back on the late night Facebook lives. Hope you've all had a good day. Weather's cooled down a bit, but you can still be happy. Right, what I'm going to talk about tonight. Actually, today I'm making history. Momentous video here. For those of you who probably don't know, all my Facebook lives before have been set so only my friends can view them. I didn't realise this, but apparently, well, not apparently, there is the option to actually set your Facebook lives to go public, which means, in Facebook's words, anyone on or off Facebook can view this video. So I could be going global tonight, or I could just be in Ipswich still. Anyway, we'll see. I'm just putting this stuff out there, see what happens. So tonight I'm talking about something called CPD. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. So you're going to get a bit of education here. So CPD stands for Continuing Professional Development. Now, what does that mean? Now, you can Google it and you'll get some nice, long Oxford-style dictionary. But I looked at it and there's no way I was going to remember it, and I didn't want to read it. So what's my understanding of it? Right along, and my understanding of it is, in the workplace, is that you're always engaging in learning. Obviously, you've got your formal education, your GCSEs, your A levels, your degrees, etc., etc. But once you're in the workplace, once you've done all that formal studying, CPD is like continuing. It's kind of like topping up your knowledge. So, for example, if you're a lawyer, you always got to know what the latest laws are, legal statutes, what have you. Even if you're not a lawyer, that can be comprised of a training day, whether in your workplace or going out externally. That's classed as continuing professional development. And the key word I want to focus on is professional, because it basically ties it down to the workplace. And I'm gonna rephrase that and ask you guys a question. What CPD do you do? Not continuing professional development, but what continuing personal development do you do? And nowadays, there's a whole range of different ways to learn. So back in my grandparents' day, and I always remember this growing up a child, my grandparents told me, especially my granddad, you must go to university, you must get a degree. And I always thought, well, I don't want to get a degree. I don't know what I want to study. Why am I going to go to university to do something I don't know why I'm doing it? Now, there are people who do that for a number of reasons. One, to avoid working and that, but that wasn't me. But he would always go on about that and that and that. And always, I kind of resented hearing that information. But as I got a bit older, I kind of, when I was younger, I used to try and not argue back, but try and put my point across. Well, you don't have to go to university to get on in life and blah, blah, blah. But as I became older, I realised that was kind of like his generation's only option as such. If you really wanted to get on in life, you had to get a degree. Now, most of you will all probably know that a degree is not the be-all and end-all nowadays. In fact, it may not even get you much further in what you want to do. There's a level playing field as such, and if you've got 10 people who've all studied MBAs to go for an interview, you've all got the same degree, albeit with different 2-1s and 1-1s, whatever. You can tell I didn't go to university because I don't even know the grading system. But anyhow, what's going to stand out is your experience, your personality, how you come across, all those other soft skills. So, for those of you who don't know, university is not the only option. If you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, something like that, then yes. But for most other qualifications, university is not the only option. So what other options are out there? Nowadays, you've got online learning. And I saw a news article the other day. I can't remember the stats, but more and more formal colleges and institutions are going to be moving to the online way of learning. One is flexible. You could do it at your own time, your own pace. Videos can be recorded. so much. All the benefits you know about accessing things online are going to be applied to formal education, so there's going to be a shift there. But online education could be short courses as well. It could be if you want to learn spreadsheets, for example, Excel spreadsheets. You can pay to have an online course. You could also nowadays watch YouTube videos. YouTube as well. There's another educational resource, and that's free. But in terms of online learning, there's a couple of sites. Groupon, you probably all know that Groupon do online courses, and there's and not a newcomer, but relatively new, a few years, called Udemy, Udemy. That's what they do. And a bit of free advice. If you've got knowledge, and we've all got knowledge or expertise in something, you can quite easily package that into a course, and Udemy will sell it on your behalf. And probably what you know, there's someone out there who wants to learn what you know, and you create a course, put it out there, and then the job is done. Great way to earn additional income. I'm trying to get my mum to do that. My mum's a dressmaker. She went to London College of Fashion. It was always something I used to boast about when I was in school, but it's something I was really proud of, because I know the London College of Fashion is one of the most respected fashion colleges in the world, and for mum to have gone there, why not big up about it. And she's got a whole lodge in her head. When I was growing up, I can remember being surrounded by overlocking machines, and in a living room there was singing machines and all the rest of it. Unfortunately, she wanted to start her own business, formal business, but never got around to it. But she's got all that knowledge in her head, and she's still making dresses now. But she's got all that knowledge in her head, and that's value in her head that she can share with the world through these online courses. But I'm working on her anyway. So because that knowledge has been lost on me. The closer she gets is I'll get a hole in my trousers and I take it over to her to stitch it up for me. So yeah, online learning, YouTube, Udemy, Groupon. I'm sure there's millions of others. Great way to learn. My personal favourite are books. I'm a bookworm. I love reading books. I recently heard a video of Warren Buffett, one of the world's most famous investors, saying he spends 6 hours a day reading. 6 hours a day reading. And yeah, I like to do that. You call me a nerd or what you want. I love to spend most of my day reading. Probably wouldn't see anyone, but all that knowledge you're taking in. And along with the physical book, because I love the physical book, and another throwback, my granddad, I remember him building his own shelf. He had literally must have had thousands of books gone through his hands in his lifetime. And I remember when I was a teenager, him building this shelf. This is going to be a long one, guys, I warn you, so you might want to save this and come back to this. Him building this shelf, and I remember, I haven't got one to hand, in every one of his books he would have a stamp, like a date stamp, but he had a stamp and it literally had the date, and it would have the library of JFA Mensa. My granddad had his own library. So yeah, that was pretty surreal for me. So that's how much he valued books. That's how much he valued knowledge, and he is a man of great knowledge. So for me, yes, along with physical books, you've got ebooks, which are great as well, ebooks, and audiobooks as well, which I'll touch on a bit later. So ebooks are great. You can download them on a mobile, tablet, laptop, computer, what have you, and read them at your leisure, and perhaps print them out as well. And for people who producing the ebooks, obviously is cheaper than producing a physical book. But I like physical books. You can pick them up, you can hold them, you can read them, highlight them, make notes of them, and then you can put away, and you can then go back to them and pick them up. I haven't got this, but all my books unfortunately are tucked away in shelves and what have you. But if we had a bigger house one day or whatever, I had the opportunity, I'd literally have a library just books that I could just go in and just immerse myself in them. And my kind of retagging is CPD, continuing personal development. That's probably the main way. The other main way, actually, I watch a lot of videos, and I like podcasts, which are like radio shows online. And the reason I like them, I can do that while I'm doing it at the same time. So the rare occasion that I do walk part of the way to work, I could be putting on an audio book or podcast and could be listening to that while I'm doing something which doesn't take a lot of thought, such as walking, or it could be driving your car. Great way to multitask. But I like I say, I like physical books. So for me, if you're going to retag this, continuing personal development, not professional, books for me are the main way to go. So I'm going to show you some of the books I've got in the moment, why I've got them, what I look to get out of them, etc. And don't think I'm a bookworm in the sense that, wow, he's reading all these books. Trust me, most of these books I haven't even got around to reading. I go through splurges of just ordering a load of books. I like the books and I just order them, and I don't get around to reading them. And one of my good friends, I went to their house the other day and I noticed a book there. I thought, oh, I've got that book, I haven't got around to reading it. And she said, oh, it's your book, your wife lent it to me. So there you go. This just proves my point. Alright, so what am I reading at the moment? Let's get some props. I'm using props. I'm going up a level, people who've been watching my videos. So the first one, I think, is coming up on my screen backwards. I hope you can read it. Anyway, the Holy Bible. I'm a Christian, for those who don't know. This is my main book. But what you got to realise as well, this is made up of 66 books. 66 books covering a whole array: history, prophecy, wisdom, poetry, love. You people who like soaps, trust me, read some of the Old Testament in here. There's twists and turns, trust me. It got nothing on EastEnders. EastEnders have got nothing on this, trust me. Yeah, this is my source. This and me talking to God, which we call prayer. I wake up. If I don't read this first thing in the morning, life just runs away, and I don't. And my wife will tell you, you can see it on my face. So I get frustrated because I need to make that time in the morning to read, to set me up for the day. Just because I read it doesn't mean I understand it. No, this is part of the continuing personal development or education, because my education of the Bible was going to church once a week. My priest will talk about a section of the Bible. I might do a little bit of Bible study when I was in junior church or in a kids church, but during the week I didn't read my Bible. Sorry, I went to Christian school as well, so we had RE, religious studies, so we'd do lessons there. But other than that, I wasn't reading my Bible. So in terms of education about why the Bible is written as it is, a lot of the Bible contains people's stories, and when you read back on some stories, your perception of it is very different to the people who were actually in there at the time. So yes, this is the Bible, and it's in a language in terms of you get different versions of it. So originally it was written in Hebrew and Greek, but it was translated into English, and there's many different variations of it, and some of the way it's phrased. Obviously, modern day you've got slang and things like that. So kind of even though it's in English, it still takes deciphering or translating. So yes, I'm reading this, and the other thing as well is that the Bible is not a book you can read like a literal book, which is what I'm used to doing. I'm used to reading a book from A to Z, and the Bible's not to be written on that. So I need help to understand how to read this book of wealth. So recently, a book I bought is this one, and quite simply, it's titled "How to Understand the Bible." So how do I apply when I'm reading it? What am I looking out for? How do I understand what's in there so I can gain much knowledge? So That's education. Education right there. Next thing I'm reading at the moment, which I just started this week, is the 15-Minute Money Manager. Why am I reading this? Because I have had very little, if nothing, no education on finances. And this is something I'm passionate about. I'm looking to do something. I know there's many people who are looking to bring financial literacy to schools because it is sorely lacking. And when you have a country that's in trillions of pounds of debt, and in my experience, the first financial lesson you get from a government or governing body is, if you want to go to university, get yourself in debt. And that for me is the wrong message you're sending that. And now we've got people, we live in a world of plastic where you have the opportunity not to actually feel money. So all you see is numbers on a bank statement, credit card statement. If you bother to open them up, it's not real, it's not tangible, people can't see it. So I'm very passionate about educating people about finances, including myself. So I'm educating myself by reading this 15-Minute Money Manager. It's got easy budgeting, cutting costs, developing a financial plan, and stabilizing your finances. So I'm reading that because I can always improve in this area. Just on a side note on that, and a reason why I'm so passionate about this as well is that a partner was with at the time. I was supporting her financially and emotionally while maintaining a mortgage on my mum's place. On earning under £20,000 in maths don't stack up, so I got into a load of debt. I tried to use the services of a commercial debt management company, and they couldn't arrange agreements with all of my people who I owed money to. Just because some of the companies didn't want to deal, it became fashionable for a lot of these companies that started coming into business, offering to manage people's debts for them and taking a fee for that. And it was only me reading that great literacy newspaper, The Sun, yes, it was The Sun, that I came across a charity called the Consumer Credit Counselling Service, and they helped me arrange payment terms with all my people I owed money to, and to pay off my debts. And I learned about things, the difference between defaulting on a credit agreement and a county court judgment. Unfortunately, I didn't obtain any county court judgments, but I did obtain several defaults which will stay on my credit record for 7 years. And basically, in layman's terms, it meant my credit score, or the way financial institutions viewed me credit-wise, went down for 7 years. Unfortunately, I'm in a position now where my credit is very good. But none of that was taught to me in schools. I just happened to come across an article in a newspaper that led me to a charity who could educate me about that. How many people need that information? So 15-Minute Money Manager, just started reading it this week. And the good thing I like about this book as well, literally the chapters are only one or two pages, which suits me because I haven't got a lot of time. Because once my kids are up, that's it, game over. Right. Going back to my faith. Now, one of the things in the Bible, it's often called the good news, and good news needs to be shared. So, as a follower of Jesus Christ, I'm a disciple, which means I am following his learning, what he teaches me and what he puts on my heart. But he also doesn't want us to keep that inside of us. He wants that to share that with other people. What education have I had about sharing the good news? And to be crude, all it has been is inviting people to church. And for me, I came away from faith when I was 16, when I was no longer forced to go. And I came back to faith for myself in 2010 with my wife. And visiting churches, we visited a lot of churches, and they were very different to the environment I had when I went to church. So when I came into that, I always had the back of my mind, how does someone new who hasn't got as much biblical knowledge as I have growing up and being immersed in the Catholic Church, how would they feel coming into a church and a service? Would they understand it? And to be frank, church, we use a lot of jargon in church. I work in the electricity industry, and that has got a lot of jargon. But in the church, there's a lot of jargon used, and if someone doesn't, sometimes I think a person could go in to the church and have more questions than answers, and if someone doesn't take that person by the hand or meet with them one-to-one or in a group or break things down, explain things to them, then how are they? Sometimes I get the impression that we talk about things like we talk about church, and we assume that people know what we mean. We're not in a generation. We're in a generation where majority of people do not go to church. The times have changed. So for me, I always keep that at the back of my head, and I think other Christians need to think about when we talk about church. People's idea of church. Some people don't have no idea what church is. Some people think church is just a building. It's not. Church is the people. Whether we meet in a fancy church or in someone's house, church is the body of people. Hi, Fran, how you doing? Church is the people, the spirit that's in the church. So going back to my point, I've had all my education has been about discipleship is get people to come to church, tell people to come to church. And that's it. What happens after that? So I've got this book here called Gentle Persuasion, and the kind of tagline is Creative Ways to Introduce Your Friends to Christ. Because like I say, I'm a shy person, and we all have a different faith and all have a different beliefs, which is absolutely fine. But some people don't take too well, or have been in the past tried to be brainwashed for a word, or people trying to force them to come to church and all the rest of it. So because of that, they have a negative view of Christians. So, and Christians, we're just like people come in all shapes and sizes, all different personalities. You might come across some Christians who are holier than holy, or who will tell you how to live your life. But trust me, most of us Christians are more messed up than you, which is why we are Christians, because we need to rely on a higher being, and our higher being is Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God. So when you meet a Christian and you think, oh, they've got all their life in order, in one sense they have, because they recognize that they're not perfect and they need a God in their life to help them through that. Okay? So for me, I'm not perfect as a Christian. I need to learn how to share my faith more. The best way to do that is to live it out. It's becoming a bit harder these days with laws and that, but it's not impossible. So a little while ago, I bought this book, Gentle Persuasion, and again, it's education. I'm going to read this. I haven't read this book yet, like I said a few minutes ago. Just because I'm showing you all these books, it doesn't mean I've got a head full of knowledge. I haven't got around to reading this book yet, but it's something I want to improve myself, something I want to educate myself in as part of my continuing personal development as a Christian. Right. Next book, and this, I keep saying in a few of my videos, I'm fascinated with time. I will do a video on time one day. It might have to be a two-parter because I'm a bit fascinated with time. But since started doing these videos and thinking more about public speaking and that, I've been very much overwhelmed with managing the social media side of things, more so than usual. Typically, like most people say, I never have enough time to do everything. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm an employee. All these different little segments take up the time. So I think we all recognise Dummies books, and I've got one on time management. This was actually recommended to me. Someone who actually knows the author recommended this book to me. So I bought this a few months ago. I haven't done anything with it. Started reading it last week, but started moving on to other books, and I haven't picked this one up. This is something I'm gonna be reading. There's a few exercises in there as well. And that's the great thing about books as well. It's not just you read them from A to Z. Some of them contain exercises, things to do, things to think about. So it's education right there. So time management for dummies. Let's see how we get on with that one. But hopefully I can, even if I pick up one thing from this, that's one thing that's going to save me time and improve myself. Or maybe I'll read something. Maybe you read something and it's not for you, but maybe you read something and someone else can share that. And that's another great thing about books. I can share this book if I've got time. You heard my story, how someone else, a family friend, a friend has got one of my books. I never realised they could be passed around. They could. Sorry guys, I just had a poor signal there. They could be shared. So while I'm not reading this, I could share this, lend this to someone, and say, look, you have a read of that. I think this book would be great for you, whatever you, and then you're sharing that value. That's the power of books. Right, what else have I got? So, talking about time, me and my wife, we have 3 beautiful children, and before we got married, my wife, we did a marriage preparation course. We weren't Christians at the time. We decided we wanted to prepare ourselves for marriage because it was a big step for both of us. So we did a marriage preparation course, and in that time we happened to become Christians again for ourselves. But that was great because we would invest a Saturday evening, I think every couple of weeks or once a month, just talking about marriage and how it's going to work and blah, blah, blah. But since we got married, it's been full on, it's been crazy. Oh, the point I was going to say, yeah, my wife kept talking about, we got to have a date night every week, we got to have a date night every week, blah, blah, blah. I said, loose. It ain't going to happen, it's not going to happen. And true to my word, it hasn't happened. But one thing we have done is we've carved out, we've made, because that's the thing with time, we all have the same amount of time. And people, you say, you haven't got time, you got to make the time. You got to make the time. If a member of your family had an accident and we're in the hospital, you drop everything to go and see them. You're making the time, all right? So, I don't want to hear I haven't got time, I haven't made the time, all right? So, anyway, Sundays, as a Christian, we go to church, we rest, we do very little work. That's the time for family and God. And me and my wife were talking about it. We rarely get time to talk, but we said, look, we're going to make some time for ourselves on a Sunday evening and build it up from there. So the top goal is, yeah, brilliant, we'd love to have a date night every week, whatever. Let's just break that down. So we're carving out a Sunday evening once the kids have gone to bed for ourselves. And being Christians is not just having being a solo Christian, it's also being in community with others. So although me and my wife are